Hey guys, welcome to Unbiased Rugby. So today I'm going to be talking about the new South African contract system. There's been a lot of talk out there. I see Jake White sent out a message saying, sell South African rugby to the highest bidder. Talk absolute rubbish. The more and more that Jake White sends out messages, I'm not saying I think he was an excellent coach, but he really does sends out some really left field ideas. I think it's absolutely ludicrous, sell South African rugby to someone in Dubai. Yeah, it's absolute. He's crazy talk, absolute crazy talk. So he was talking about this new contract system, and Nas Botha also came up with this new contract system, saying it's rubbish, and we're going to lose all our big players. The reality is, we're going to lose our big players in any case. That's just an absolute given. A player, Andre Pollard, go earn €1 million playing in Europe, or something to that effect, and we can't compete against it. €1 million, what's that, in 16, 17 million rand? That's funny money. You know what I mean? For a South African, that's real. That's like winning the lotto kind of money. So it's just not going to happen. We just don't have the kind of money to be able to afford to keep our really big players, the Eben Etzebeths, the Andre Pollards, the Jesse Creels. These players are going to go, and that's okay. Don't besmirch them. Let them go. It's going to make Premiership rugby even better to watch, having these really big, high-impact players. I have a feeling much Sales Sharks in Gloucester next year, they're really going to be kicking with the big stars that they're bringing across. But yeah, instead of complaining about it or thinking about, we must keep our players, what we're going to do, the reality is we don't have the money. We don't have the money to keep our players. We wanted to keep our top 20 Springboks, and they cost 17 million rand a piece. Do the maths. What's it? 280 million rand. That's a quarter of Sari's budget. And they've still got to spend money on development, the women's game, sevens, all the franchises. So yeah, it's just never ever going to happen. So I'm glad they've come up with a new solution for South African rugby, especially in connection with the contracting system. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's a step in the right direction. There's going to be teething issues, and there's going to be a lot of issues around it. But what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to break it down as best I can, and then we can go through it and we can have a discussion about it. And you can put down your thoughts down below of what you think of the new contracting system that Sari have brought out. I'm just going to have to stop the video for now. Sorry about that, guys. My dog is quite old and it needed to go out, so I'll just let him out quickly. But yeah, what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to break down the new contracting system as best as I can see it. They're literally going to be breaking down. There's going to be professional players, semi-professional players, and development players. Development players are 21 and younger. Professional players are the ones that play for the 8 franchises, the 4 Super Rugby franchises, the 2 Pro 14 franchises, and then I think there's the 2 First Division clubs, the Pumas and the Griquas. So those are the Super Rugby franchises, and they're allowed to have, if I look correctly, 45 professional players. And in the case of, I think of the Pumas and the Griquas, I think it's 40. So they're only allowed 45 players, and that's across the board. So Kings, Cheetahs, Stormers, Lions, Bulls and Sharks, they're only allowed 45 players in their squad, and that's professional players. And that's obviously for their squad. Development players, these are players that are under 21. They can have an unlimited amount as long as it fits in with a budget of, I think it's 10 million the first year, 7.5 million the second year. But the salary cap for each of these franchises is 60 million. And in the case of the Pumas and the Griquas, it's 15 million. So they're allowed 60 million to employ these 45 players, which is a big step up because it does set the salary cap at about 3.8 million pounds. I think that was the figure, which is still only half a Premiership thing. But because they've set a limit on the amount of players, it should be more money for the people that are available. Now they can spend that 45 million in any way that they want. So if they wanted to keep Andre Pollard, it cost them 17 million, and then the rest, the other 33 or 38 million, whatever, gets split amongst all the other players. So yeah, you can buy some 5-6 superstars and then not have so many great, or spread your money across. What's nice is about this system is that there's a lot more money for the Kings and the Cheetahs. It just goes to show that South African Rugby is starting to take the Pro 14 a lot more serious. I believe it's the right way to go for some South African sides. I think we're in a unique position in South Africa that we're fortunate that we're playing Super Rugby, but we've got a very, very golden opportunity to play in the Pro 14, which is it's a lot different. It's a different style of rugby to Super Rugby. I honestly feel sending up our tight 5 or our forwards to go play in Pro 14 to really blood themselves into serious structured rugby is perfect. If we had 10 or 20 of our best forwards playing in the Pro 14, they could only get better. And what's nice is because their budget's been increased for the Kings and the Cheetahs, there'll be a hell of a lot more money for the Kings and the Cheetahs to be able to recruit better players to come play across. Because I've always thought with the Kings and the Cheetahs, especially the Cheetahs maybe, they just need 3 or 4 X-factor players. If they had a Malcolm Marx or a Andre Pollard or a Jesse Creel or even a Warwick Gelant, if they had those kind of X-factor players that can really bring a difference, Dwayne Vermeulen and those kind of players. You just need 1 or 2 on the field, and it really changes the whole aspect of the game, of how it is. Like a real, I feel Malcolm Marx, when he's on song and when he's playing well, he can really change the whole outcome of a game. Just one player. And it sounds strange, but people follow players that they respect. So if the Cheetahs could run onto the field with 3-4 Springboks and the Kings could run on with 3-4 Springboks, I think they'd do a hell of a lot better in the Pro 14. I think it's also a requirement from the Cheetah sponsor. The Toyota have basically said that you have to do better in Pro 14, else you're going to lose the sponsorship. So they're going to have to recruit better this next year to obviously try and make the knockouts again. Not that they made it this year. From a Super Rugby point of view, I think it's going to make the squads a little smaller, be able to manage our players a little bit better. I'm not talking about, there's no more Springbok contracts per se. What they're doing is they're identifying, I think it's 60 to 80, they're called pony players, players of national interest. So it's 4 or 5 players in each position. So you have your top player in your position. So if you took number 4 lock, your top player would be Ibn Etzebeth. He'd probably end up playing overseas. He is going to go play overseas in France. And then you have your other 4 players that you've identified, your next in line, and they get managed by SARU. So SARU look at them and they have player management, they have high skills performance. So they have a whole thing around it with that player. The beauty of those kind of players is SARU have a bit of a say on where those players go. So we won't end up in a situation where we end up having 3 tight head props, world-class tight head props at the Stormers. We'd end up having it spread around the competition, which I'm really happy with. The nice thing about this is the first time that I think the Players Association, the franchises, and SARU are on the same page. That hasn't happened before. Normally it's everyone's in their own personal interest. Look, at the end of the day, I'm not saying it's the right idea. We're still going to lose our top players, and for Super Rugby as a product, in the short term, it's not good for Super Rugby. But I think in the long term, especially when you start looking at how they want to work with the development players, the players under 21, what they're saying is that when you hit 21 and you over 21, if you don't have a contract, then you can either go into the club system, or you're a free agent. You can go overseas to go find contracts. But if you want to sign, or if they offer you a contract here to play, say for the Sharks, and they offer you a 3-year contract. So it's a 3-year contract to try to give you some kind of longevity so it gives you work security, and it gives the club security that you're going to be around for 3 years. They're even going to increase that to give you a bonus if you sign for a 4th year. So if you sign for a 4th year at the start, then we know that the players are going to be there until about 25, 26. They're going to be around. And we're going to get the most out of them to play into a national system. Like I said, it's not perfect, but I think it's a step in the right direction. It's thinking a little bit differently. It's not trying to keep all these top players. We'd say let's start looking at it a little bit differently and start saying let's start create a bit of a bit more depth, that if we lose our top player to overseas, we've got someone that can step in, and they've been developed in the system to be able to step in. At the end of the day, the most important thing in South African rugby is the Springboks, and well, from my point of view, I think it's the Springboks. And we need to be able to know that we have access to our players, that we've got a good development line. It's what makes New Zealand so good. You know, their first, second, third, fourth choice can step in and take over straight away. And I think that's what we need to do in South Africa. It's okay for us to lose our top players because we have players that can step into those roles. Yes, there are some players that are special. You take Malcolm Marx, Pieter-Steph du Toit. I think it's the special players. You know, players that Siya Kolisi, these are players you don't want to lose, even though Siya Kolisi is going. But I think Pieter-Steph and Malcolm Marx, these are the kind of players you really want to keep tight control over. If I'm absolutely sure that Malcolm Marx has been offered a really nice contract from Saru as a pony player to get him to stay in the country, because he's the one player that you really want to keep in our system, that we always have access to him. If he goes and plays overseas, which he could, you know, he can go make a lot more money. I just think keeping control of some of the players is a good idea. But listen, guys, what are your thoughts on this new system? You know, do you think it's rubbish? Do you think we should sell Springbok rugby? Do you think it's the death knell of South African rugby? I'm just one of those people that I try to look at situations not as half glass half empty, but half full. The reality is the players are going to go. That's the reality. There's no point in trying to stop the flow of the 380 players that are going to go play overseas. It's going to happen. We need to find a solution that works, trying to keep our players here for as long as we can. And once they decide to go, then they go. We still have access to them, but I just think some things like Super Rugby and things like that, it's going to drop in the short term. It will. Next year, it's going to drop a little bit. But once the contracts start working out in the next 3 to 4 years, we'll have a really good product again. So I reckon by Rugby World Cup 2023, I think the systems will be in place. But yeah, like I said, it's not perfect. But we need to find solutions that work for us, that we've come up with, that we've thought about, and that work for us. And trying to keep our players and trying to say, no, listen, you need to show some respect and some for the jersey and things. Those days are gone. You know, these are professional players that need to go earn good money. But yeah, guys, put down your thoughts down below of what you think of this new contracting system. Do you think it's rubbish? Do you think it's good? Do you think I'm talking rubbish? Do you think it's a crap idea? And how do you think it will affect Super Rugby going forward? Do you think and Pro 14? I think it's going to be good for Pro 14 quickly, and I think it's going to be bad for Super Rugby to start off with, but it's going to improve over the next 3 to 4 years. But listen, guys, I really want to bring more topics about Springbok Rugby and things like that. I'm going to be releasing them over the next couple of weeks, especially building up to the World Cup. We've got less than 100 days to go, and then we're going to probably have the most exciting World Cup that we've had in donkey's years. But listen, guys, have a great week. Chat soon. Bye.